Hey everybody, Ash here with Gents with another fragrance review. Today I'm coming at you with a new release from the house of Versace. You already know what it is by the title of the video. It is the new flanker to Versace Eros. Versace Eros Flame. I'm going to give you a breakdown on this fragrance, whether I think it's good enough that you should blind buy it or buy it at retail, or maybe one that you should wait on or skip altogether. So stick with me, we're going to go ahead and check out the presentation on this one, then jump into the fragrance itself. Alright guys, let's go ahead and check out the presentation for Versace Eros Flame. First up the box, it got dinged. It has an injury. So you've got the name of the house, name of the fragrance, the Versace Medusa here. Looks nice, there's nothing doing on the sides. At the top, Versace. On the back you've got the ingredient information. And then on the bottom you have your badge code and your barcode. Badge code is punched into the box right here. And here we have the bottle. This is the Versace Eros bottle, obviously, just with a red coloration and a different cap color. You have the name of the fragrance, name of the house here on the front. Cap does click into place, and it has the Versace Medusa right there at the top. Atomizer on this is good, like pretty much all Versace's. It's got this nice design on the back of the bottle. Again, same as the Eros bottle. I really like it. And then on the bottom, your sticker with badge code. There we have the presentation for Versace Eros Flame. So yeah, Eros Flame. Versace is one of my favorite designer houses. I know they maybe aren't the most highly regarded designer house. That's usually Chanel or Dior. But Versace is one that's really close to my heart. A lot of their fragrances I really like. Eros is not necessarily one of my top favorites as far as what I personally wear, but I do like it. I really dig the bottle as well. Some people might think it's tacky, but I like it. So I was pretty pumped to hear that they were making a flanker to Eros. Right off the top, Eros Flame opens with a ton of citrus. Just a huge citrus burst, along with a little bit of cedar in the background. The main citrus note that I get is orange, but it still is a citrus mix. And there is also a good amount of rosemary, at least off my skin, in the opening. And that's going to be kind of a recurring theme with this fragrance, is rosemary. It gives off a green, semi-camphorous kind of note that's underneath the woods, underneath the citrus, but definitely makes its presence known. It's that way in the opening, it's that way in the mid, it's that way in the dry down. Now that giant orange opening that you get initially, that dies off pretty quickly. At least the feeling of it being a really big citrus opening. Probably within 3-4 minutes, a lot of that citrus starts to die down. At least, you know, it doesn't punch you as strongly in the nose. And really, Eros Flame is a little bit of a surprise to me because smelling it from the atomizer, it smells really close to the original Eros. So if you just, you know, take the cap off, smell it from there, you'd probably think it's going to be 70% similar to the original Eros, maybe even more, or at least that's what I thought. But it's really not. Eros Flame does its own thing for the most part, at least until it gets into the far dry down. Now after the first 3 minutes, when that citrus starts to dry down, like I talked about just a second ago, the rosemary gets stronger. A lot stronger actually. Rosemary is one of the most prominent notes off my skin with this fragrance. Again, just a green, herbal, semi-camphorous kind of feeling pops off my skin really strongly. And pepper is listed in this fragrance in the top and the mid, at least if you go by Fragrantica. And I get absolutely no pepper at all. None in the opening, none in the mid, none in the dry down. Just pepper doesn't exist, at least off my skin, with Eros Flame. As Eros Flame starts to dry down, a lot of tonka starts to come in, which you would expect because tonka is one of the main notes in the original Eros. It starts to mix with the remaining citrus from the opening, and again, that rosemary. There's also a little bit of a cedar note there, but if I'm being completely honest, the main things that I get at this point in the mid are the tonka and that rosemary. The citrus at this point is kind of dull, you know, it doesn't really have too much life to it anymore, and there's also some ambery woods in the mid as it heads into the dry down. So those ambery woods kind of just smell like your standard men's semi-sweet woody dry down. If you've smelled a whole lot of releases over the past 2-3 years, you've smelled it countless times at this point. There's no mint or apple in Eros Flame, but the further along the fragrance gets, the more it smells like the original Eros. So in the opening and the mid, definitely smells like its own thing. But the closer and closer it gets to the far dry down, the closer and closer it gets to smelling like original Eros. The vanilla tonka mix in Eros Flame is not the exact same as the vanilla tonka mix in the original Eros, but that's mainly because in Eros Flame there are different supporting notes. Eros Flame has little bits of sandalwood and patchouli, again that kind of ambery woodsy feel, and the rosemary, so that's what changes it up. In the dry down, the far dry down, the absolute simplest way to put it is that Eros Flame is Eros, plus a little bit of herbal green, plus some synthetic ambery woods. Longevity on Eros Flame off my skin, very good. 8+ hours, very similar to the original Eros, maybe just slightly weaker than when Eros was very first released, original Eros. Projection, above average as well. Not something that I would say is beast mode, but this is something that's going to last you throughout the night or throughout the day if you decide to wear it in daytime. So what a lot of guys out there are going to want to know, is Eros Flame a potential compliment getter? It is, yeah. Would I say it's as high of a compliment getter as the original Versace Eros? No, not really. The opening in the mid of Eros Flame is a little bit more adventurous than the opening to Eros. The dry down to Eros Flame is pretty close to the original Eros. So in the dry down, it's going to have pretty much the same compliment factor that Versace Eros is going to have. But in the opening and mid, Versace Eros is just a little bit more pleasing in general than Eros Flame is. Of course, your mileage may vary with that. Eros Flame may work just amazingly off your skin, while the original Eros may not. But as far as those two fragrances go for me, Eros works better. As far as usage, Eros Flame, pretty close to Eros. It's one that you could wear in day or night. It's one that I think is best for either casual wear or a night out. Not really a fragrance that I would want to wear formally. As far as seasons, fall and winter are best in my opinion. You could wear it in spring as well. Not really something that I would reach for in the high heat in summer though. But as I've said a million times, if you want to wear it in summer, if you want to wear it formally and you think you can pull it off, go for it. And in general, this type of fragrance, usually better suited for the younger guys out there. It's not really something that screams out, middle-aged or older. It's on the sweeter end of things, and like Eros, a little more on the clubbier end of things. Now, as far as my opinion on Versace Eros Flame, it's not one that I'm in love with. I think that the opening and the mid are okay, but it's nothing great. It's got that typical overload of tonka, the ambery woods, comes across a little bit generic. The only thing that sets it apart really is the rosemary, and off my skin that rosemary doesn't really smell that great mixing with the other notes that are in here. And maybe the rosemary doesn't come across as strongly off your skin as it does mine, but when I've been wearing this, it's very noticeable. You may not know that it's rosemary, like when you smell it, you may not pick up that that's what it is, but if you're smelling something green or again camphorous, depending on how you perceive it, maybe like a little bit of a sour note underneath everything, that's going to be the rosemary. As it dries down more, which is the most important part of the fragrance, it does become much closer to Eros, and Eros, as we all know, is a fragrance that works in a lot of situations that a lot of people, especially women, are going to like. I've also had my wife check this one out and give her opinion. Maybe she's a little bit jaded now because of all the different things that she smelled, but she thinks it's generic but nice smelling. And maybe here in the very near future, we'll do another smell and rate with her and possibly rope in one of her friends. So yeah, Versace Eros Flame, my opinion as far as you buying it, first off, sample it if you can. If you can find it in a store, spray it on yourself, give it a wearing, see how you like it. Ultimately, you're the one spending the money. If you really, really like it, go ahead and pick it up. Now, as far as blind buying goes, I wouldn't tell you to do that. I don't think it's something that really sets the world on fire. That's a bad pun. But it's really not anything amazing, and some of the other releases that have come out this year are better. I think that Coach Platinum, I haven't reviewed that here, but I think that's a better fragrance than Eros Flame. 1 Million Lucky, that's a better fragrance than Eros Flame. It's all right. It's just not great. As far as blind buying goes, unless you're completely sold on it already, I would just wait. Pick it up from a discounter in the future. You're not missing too much. And if you already own Eros, this is probably a little bit redundant. I mean, not completely redundant, because the opening and the mid are definitely different. Again, I prefer Eros, but in the dry down, which is the part of the fragrance that lasts the longest, they're awfully close. So there we go, Versace Eros Flame. If you've smelled this one or owned this one, or you're thinking of getting this one, whatever, drop me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. I know that some of you out there really love this one. I'm not trying to crap on it. I just think it's okay. If I were going to give it a 1 to 10, probably in the 6 range. All right, guys, there we go. Versace Eros Flame. Nice bottle though. I like the red color. Some people, again, might think a little tacky, but I like it. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.